Hey everybody, welcome back to Kelvis Podcast. I'm in the studio with my man, Mr. Bell. I'm
What's
calling
going
Mr.
on?
Bell because that's my brother, man. Even though he's an alpha and I'm that blue fire,
Hey, that's what we
still
do.
divide nine. So man, we served together, no secret disclosure. We served together in the military, man.
Yep.
He's been with me one of the most critical times of my life. When I lost my son, he came and represented the battalion and did a wonderful job and supported me and my family at the time. So I got much love for him just off of that alone. But without further ado, Mr. Bell, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Man, look,
yourself,
we know each other. We go way back like car seats.
Yes, sir.
But,
Yes, sir.
For those that don't know, my name is Roderick Bell. I'm originally from the Eastern Shore of Virginia. And what a lot of people don't know what they see. When you see the map of Virginia, and then you see that little part that sticks out there that's hanging out that probably actually should have been a part of Maryland.
Right.
That's where I'm from. So I represent ESVA everywhere I go.
Right.
Went to Northampton High School, graduated. Went to Norfolk State on a track scholarship.
Okay, yeah.
So I ran track at Norfolk State University, and then graduated. Had a chance at, doing a bunch of things. I had received my master's from Grantham University. So yeah. So education was
What
important.
you think
to me.
about Michael Vick coming back?
Oh man, look, we
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
We excited, and I think it's a great thing for the school, right? And I think a lot of people are going to start to see that some of these ex-NFL players have some nuggets to give back to these universities, especially the HBCUs, right? Because me going to a HBCU, a lot of people, I realize that we don't really get the big things that these PWIs get. Right. So I'm proud of my HBCU, Norfolk State University. But man, we're excited. The first game, home game, is probably gonna be lit.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna be packed. People gonna have the Vic jerseys, go green and gold. So it's gonna be great for the school.
So that's what's up, man. So man, you done did a lot, man. When you send me I've been following you for a long time, even after I retired and you retired.
Yep.
Tracking what you've been doing, you be tracking each other, you know what I'm saying? Man, you got a phenomenal career path, man.
I appreciate it.
And so, we're gonna move past the military. We're gonna go straight into, talking about your time as a coach, as a track and field coach.
Yep.
Because I've seen a lot. You travel with them kids, man, and just tell me about that path, man, in your career. How has that been for you?
Yeah, so I actually started coaching high school track in 2010.
Okay.
And this is at Laney High School, same school Michael Jordan went to.
Okay.
And I just wanted to give back to the kids my experiences, some things that I can teach them. A lot of kids really think they're fast, right? But they're really not, because it's the mechanics, right? They don't understand the mechanics that's going to make you faster. So been coaching since 2010 at Laney High School. But then fast forward a couple more years, I co-founded the Port City Track Club. And the reason I really co-founded that because I noticed that when we went above that 95 corridor to go compete, we were getting our butts kicked. And because the county didn't have a feeder program into these high schools, we got, and that's New Hanover County, but Brunswick County has a middle school track. Pender County has middle school track, but New Hanover County didn't. And our kids would get to middle school, start running track.
Right.
We would lose them to other sports, right? And it was hard to get them back. So we started the Port City Track Club. And man, we're 3-time national champions. So man, it's great, and I'm still doing it. Today, I'm actually traveling to my high school where I graduated from, and I purchased them some equipment, right? Because again, sometimes schools don't give all the equipment. So I was like, look, I'm gonna get back to my school, purchase some equipment. So I'm going back and train with them in about 2 weeks.
Okay. So working with them young kids, I'm assuming they were teenagers, middle school, high school. What was your experience like that, and being in that leadership, that mentorship role?
And
them kids.
And that's what some of it takes, right? You see, it could be that one thing you say or that one thing you do that guy or girl or boy or girl, like, man, I just needed to hear that, because they may not hear it at home, or another coach may not have told them that. So, and like I said, I step in as that mentor, and not only in track and field, but I talk about life lessons. So, we get to the points where we talk about your grades first. We're talking about your finances. Don't let your credit get bad. And hey, what are you going to do when it's time to graduate high school? Right? What's your plan? Oh, I want to play in the NBA. Well, do you really know How many people make it in the
Percentage,
NBA?
right, the percentage.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
So what's your plan
Same
after
amount
that?
that served in the military.
Exactly. So, so I try to tell them that like, look, okay, if that's what you want to do, but you're one injury away from that not happening, then what? So I kind of, wrap my arms around them and say, look, just don't have that one set mind.
Right.
And I was that same kid, right? I was that same kid that, I'm gonna make it to the NFL, or I'm gonna make it to the NBA. Well, I'm 5'10". You know, I ain't too many 5'10s in the NBA,
Right.
so I had to come up with another plan.
Right.
And so I try to hand those nuggets off to them and just mentoring and guide them. And I'll just use it as an example. In 2015, 16, right? With our track club and then the high schools, we sent 22 kids to college on track scholarships.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
And they probably would have never thought about that if we hadn't, again, mentored them and guided them and says, hey, look, gotta have a plan.
Right.
Because if you don't have a plan,
Yeah.
just plan to fail.
That's true.
So
Yeah, that's true, man. Yeah. So carrying on talking about track and field, man. You ran track in school. You said so. What was your fastest time in high school?
So in high school, I was actually not that fast kid, but I had the ability to jump.
Okay.
Right. Coming out of high school, I might have ran 100 in 10.8, 10.7. Mm-hmm. But kids that had access to USA Track and Field AAU, they were running 10.5s, 10.3s. Wow. So I was mainly a jumper, right? So high school, high jumping 6'4", long jumping, I think my longest was 22.11, and then triple jump was probably 46. Wow. Well, then I get to college, right? And I'm thinking like I'm a beast.
Okay.
All right. I went to the state championship in high school. I finished 4th in the state. Okay. Then I get to college and I'm like, oh man, everybody doing this.
Right.
So I had to step my game up,
you
right?
got to step it up. Yeah.
Sheesh. And I was like, all right, well, let me go. So you put in, or you get out what you put in, right? So I know I had to practice twice a day. We practice in the morning, we practice in the evening.
Right.
And, at the end of my college career, I was high jumping 6'8". Jumping, long jump was 24.11. And then triple jump was like 47s, right? So, and these kids jumping out the pit right now and jumping over the bar. Yeah. My 100 time did drop, so I did run a 10.5. But still, that's nothing compared to what I was running with Tim Montgomery, the Olympian. So he was on my team.
Right.
And
Wow.
Brian, and it was just like,
that, man.
these kids are,
Yeah.
oof, all right, I thought I was something.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it and can't complain.
And carrying on, man, I was on Instagram, man. I think either Instagram or Facebook, man. I looked up and seen you out trying out for the damn NFL team. I said, what is Major Phil doing, man? I said, wow, man. So so you tried out. So how was that experience, man?
Man, I tell you what, it was a great experience. I was actually in Costa Rica. I was running track for Team USA Masters, and I get back and I got a voicemail, and I was like, "Who is this?" It happened to be the Washington Redskins. It was Alex Santos.
Yeah.
And I checked it. By the way, the Redskins are my favorite team, which is now the Commanders. And I said, man, somebody got to be playing a joke on me. This can't be real. So I called the number back, no answer. But he left another number, which was his cell phone. I wound up calling his cell phone. He was like, hey, we've been trying to get in contact with you. Where and I was like, well, I've been out of the country running track. He said, well, we want to bring you up so you can come up and try out. We need some wide receivers and punt returners. I'm still thinking it's a joke, right? I was like, yeah, but why me? And next thing I know, he keeps in contact with me through the week.
Right.
And I said, oh, he's serious. All right. So at the same time, I was filming a project at the same time. So he called me while I was on break. Hey, let me get your email, and we're going to send your stuff, your flight stuff. I said, okay. So I remember I was on set. We were filming. My phone rings. Not supposed to have your phone on set because if it goes off, it could, pick up a lot of sound. And I said, hold on, I got to take this. And Alex says, hey, the stuff is in your email. Boom, you're going to fly up here. We're going to try you out and go. And I was like, oh, now I'm excited. Still thinking it's a joke, right? I fly into Dulles.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I walk outside. And they got this huge SUV. And I was like, whoa, that's for me. They were like, yeah, we mean business. Now, at the time, Tim Hightower was there. And then Terrell Pryor was there as well, and a lot of people sleep on Terrell Pryor. He has a gun.
Really?
Yeah, so
I didn't know
he
that
was
about
there. So we get to
I'm
the
a Cowboy fan, so
Oh, I'm
we
sorry.
we
I'm
are
sorry.
enemies.
Yeah. So we get to the hotel and it says, hey, we got to be at the field the next day. We get there and we working out, right? And I go through the wide receiver drills, catching, whatever. So now it's time to work with your quarterback and wide receiver. And the first pass Terrell Pryor threw to me, it was behind me. I get back to the huddle. He said, oh, I didn't know you was that fast. He said, it's just about time. It's just about our time.
Right, that's true.
Everything after that, I was catching.
catching.
So that it worked out. And then Doug Williams comes over to me. He was like, hey, you got some wheels on you. Where you from? So where I graduated Norfolk State. He said, oh, you're a Spartan, right? So he said, all right, well, we're going to see how to make this work. So they called the wheel route. So that was the next play. We run the wheel route. I run down the sideline. I'm gone. Terrell Pryor drops back. Whew, gone. I'm like this. Oh, snap. I got to get on my horse now. Boom, I'm running. Man, I catch the ball like this, feet in the sideline. I just hear everybody go, oh, the shoulder catch, inbounds. I get back to the huddle and Doug just shakes his head. He's like, man, you got some wheels on you.
Yeah.
So then it goes time to run the 40, right? Only the skilled players at the time ran the 40.
Right.
It was me, Jeff Demps, who played for Tampa Bay, and he was at the University of Florida. A kid from Oregon or whatever. Now, when you get there, you run the 40. Jeff Demps goes. Whew. Jeff Demps is a track guy and a football player. So I already knew he had speed, the mechanics, the technique. Gone. And I thought I saw 4.30. I was like, oh, snap. I'm going to just, okay. Kid 4.30. The kid from Oregon goes. Boom, he runs. And it was probably a 4.4. And I was like, oh, man, now it's my turn. I said, just get out there and run. Boom. Right. I go. Running. Again, I'm a track guy. Sometimes football players now, back then they used to run side to side and try to build up the speed. I don't know why, but that's what happened. For me, it was just straight mechanics. Boom. I'm running straight line.
Yeah.
I crossed the line. I just hear everybody go, ooh. So I look back at the clock. It said 4.35. I said, okay, that's respectable.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people didn't know at the time, they didn't know I was 41.
I would just say the age of 41.
Yeah, I was 41 years old. And
Running
it was
like
like
that.
and the kids from Oregon and these other colleges, it was like, how are you running this fast at 41, right? And I just tell them, I say, look, man, I'm a track guy. I run a straight line. Sometimes y'all run side to side to build up your speed. By that time, I'm already gone.
Right.
But overall, it was a great experience. Stayed up there for a while. Didn't wind up keeping me. But, man, I tell everybody, it was just a great experience. And I look back on that. I still got all my tryout gear.
Yeah. You got some autographs and stuff?
Man, look, let me tell you what. It was amazing. And at the time, RG3 was there.
Okay.
And then it was just amazing, man. And I look back on that. November the 4th every year is what I look at, and I was like, that was it. That was the time. So can't complain.
Yeah, man. You shocked me when I seen the pictures and the highlights on them. I said, man, this man's out there doing it, man. So we gonna keep on down the career path, man. So listen here, man. When I seen you in the film with Tupac, man, I said, boy, being a damn twin. I said, look at Major Bill.
Yeah.
Man, so let's talk about, from, you done went for a military career, engineer, for GE, and all that, and, amazing career. And then, you how did you transition to acting, man? How did you get into that?
So actually, I didn't take the traditional path of becoming an actor, right? Mm-hmm. It was actually, and I shout him out every time because I really believe if it was not for him, I probably wouldn't even be sitting here. Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't even be on TV and in film. But Lazy Lamont or Lamont King, right, my frat brother.
Okay.
Happened to come in town in Wilmington, and he was filming this film called Love for Sale.
Right.
And we went out for drinks, and he says, hey, man, look, I think I can get you in this film. I said, man, yeah, whatever, man. I'm good. He said, no, for real. He said, come down on set. We're going to see if we can get you in as an extra. And then, just see what happens. Just enjoy it. I wound up going down, I think it was the next day. And wound up getting on set. Mm-hmm. And wound up actually being placed in certain positions. Because I think the director looks for certain people for certain cuts and this and that. And, I got selected. And then I was in some of the main parts of the film. I started out as an extra, and I saw that, man, it's a lot of hurry up and wait, right?
because you got to film camera from different ways. You got to do this. You got
Different angles, yeah.
Oh man, so it was like, oh man, do I really want to do this? And then we was filming the fight scene, and I'm excited, right? Because I'm on a film and filming, and I'm like, oh man, this is about to be good. Well, then doing one of the cuts, Russ Parr comes to me and he says, hey, less is more, and I knew what he meant by that. What he meant was, I'm overreacting in acting. I was like, wow, oh, ah. And he said, hey, less is more, right? The less you do, the more you get out of it. And in my mind, I was like, I know what he means. I got it. And then after that, it was boom. Somebody just happened to see me on set. And they said, hey, asked me a question. Hey, you ever thought about modeling and doing some more acting? I said, oh man, they looking for guys buff, 6'4". And she was like, no, they're getting away from that. She said, you can do print, you can do commercial, whatever. I said, okay. So they wound up coming and taking pictures of me, 250 pictures.
250.
250. We had to narrow those down to 15.
Gee.
And I said, all right. So then we start shipping them out to agencies. Shipping them out. I got a whole lot of no's before I got one yes. And then from there, man, it's just been boom, boom, boom after that.
But you said something there that I want to kind of key point. In life, you're going to get a lot of, no's that you say or disappointments or whatever. But you got to have that fortitude to keep pressing forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when you said that, it just made me think that a lot of people give up on the first or second try. They don't. But you got to keep working at it. Nothing comes easy that's worth having.
Absolutely. And for me, it was how big is my want to?
Yeah.
Right? How bad do I want to succeed? How bad do I want this to happen? Right? And like I said, I took those no's, right? I said, okay, that's gonna be my story to tell. Right. So I just kept pushing to that one yes. I didn't give up. I just kept fighting. And man, look, I've been on a couple of shows. I've been TV. I'm filming now, and it's like I'm blessed.
Yeah. So you say you're filming right now. So what type of movie can you?
Yeah. So right now we film Riding Dirty. That's coming out here soon. I play Hollywood, which just happened to be my motorcycle name because I'm a president of a motorcycle club.
Yeah.
So we wound up having that. But I play this vice president of a motorcycle club called Hollywood. I don't want to tell too much of the story because I want people to actually go out there and watch it.
Right. Yeah.
But man, and plus it was easy for me because it's already in my lane.
Right. That's
right.
True.
So I cannot complain at all. I filmed Crossover and Crossover Revenge, and I got to shout out Diasia Fillmore, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing her name, but she also gave me an opportunity, right? Okay. She contacted me and says, hey, would you mind auditioning for this role? Man, okay. So shout out to Diasia. I got to say thank you.
So how did you get? So you never had no formal acting classes, right?
No, I did not, and it was just. It just happened to come upon me. Now, here's the thing. Once I really got into it, you now got to sharpen your craft.
Right.
So then it was like taking these acting classes.
Okay.
Then it was like, oh, let me go here and do this and sit in this class and learn. Because in order to, make yourself better, you got to study and sharpen your craft.
That's right.
But prior to that, it was just like, all right, I'm just able to, I guess, act in front of a camera or whatever. Yeah. Not saying I'm the best actor, but I was able to do that. And somebody just happened to see me like, oh, okay.
You got potential.
He fits this role or he fits that. I mean, just like even All Eyes on Me, the Tupac movie.
Right.
Got called to audition for that, right? And it started with multiple people who filmed and do Tupac. And then it got narrowed down and then to me and Shipman. But when I saw Shipman, I was like, oh yeah, he got that. So shout out to him. I've done, I did the Tupac lookalike in the movie Taco Gary.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that if everything comes out right, get this DMX biopic because I would love to do that. Right. Everybody always talks about, hey, you look like DMX, you can play, and I'm like, yo, that's my man's.
Right.
What I'm doing, my man's and them's is doing.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So,
hey, man,
good,
so
hopefully if that does happen, I'll be selected. But if I just get the opportunity,
when I was out in Fort Bliss, Texas, man, my roommate, he was a Rough Rider, right? And I went with him a couple of times to the club scene. I got to meet DMX, man. And I thought he was going to be taller than he was, man. He's short as hell, man.
DMX is short.
Yeah, man.
So it's funny you mentioned that, right? So when I did do some of the auditions from DMX, I got a call, and I can't remember the guy's name that, called me and says, hey, could you do an audition for DMX, right? I did an audition, and DMX was fragile. He was like, yeah, you might have to lose like 10 or 15 pounds. I was like, what? I'm gonna be crackheaded. She was like, well, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. But it was just, I think and I'm a DMX fan.
Right.
I love DMX, the way he raps, the voice.
Right.
I think the first song that I learned from DMX, word for word, when he was in Money, Power, Respect.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites.
I remember riding from Norfolk to Dover, Delaware, and I just had it on repeat the whole ride. The whole ride. And I was just like, yo. And when you really listen to him and the stuff that he was saying, your mom is home praying that you're coming home, but you're not.
Right.
You're sitting up in the trunk starting to ride. I was like, oh. But he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
So
he is too, man. I mean, it was a great experience. Like I said, I met him like twice when I was out there in Fort Bliss, Texas, because he come out there. And it was, it was a wild party. I ain't got to say no more on that. I didn't want to incriminate myself on camera.
We don't want to do that right now.
So then you took this ride across the country. So was that more like a mental break or just something that was on your bucket list to do? What inspired you to take this ride across the country?
As I stated before, I'm the founder of the 06 Riders, right? And 06 is, been in fraternity, 1906 is the year we was founded.
Right.
And I said, all right, Mom, name this motorcycle club, the 06 Riders. So I'm the founder and the president. And I always wanted to ride, cross country. Mm-hmm. And you usually hear a lot of people say, man, I ain't riding that far. What if I break down? What if I do that? I'm like, okay, and I would tell a lot of people, hey, I'm gonna ride cross country. Okay, I'll go. You start with 10 people. Get down to 7.
Yeah.
Get down to 5. Get down to 3, 2. It's like, hey, man, I don't think you should ride cross country by yourself. It ain't safe.
Right.
Hold my beer, I'll be back. 10 days later, I'm coming back. But to get out there, man, and see the country, and you just like look, and I tell anybody, get outside your city, get outside your state, go across the Mississippi, and just go see other parts of the country. It was just, man, relaxing. It was just mind-blowing that what you could see out there across the country. Now, that was my first trip going cross country.
Okay.
Last year, I did the 4 state corners. So I rode up to Maine,
right?
Rode down to New York, went up to Canada, Cincinnati, Ohio, rode out to the state of Washington, down to California, over to Florida, Virginia, and back. On the road for 2 weeks. And it was just amazing.
Right.
I ride, this is a lifestyle for me. When I ride these motorcycles, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's just what I do.
Man. Yeah, that's what's up, man. Yeah, because I seen it posted. I said, man, I seen the different pictures you were posting, man. And I thought that was like a great adventure. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause a lot of people, they don't do what they love to do. Yeah. And you doing what you love to do.
Yep. And I try to stop at, every state, right? Welcome to Virginia, welcome to North Carolina, and take that picture. Because that's just memories I'm building. Right. So I just take that and they'll be like, all right, well, this is what I'm going to do. And I just go and I just ride and I just like, man, who else, can do this? And I was like, yeah, me. Right. I'm going to go ahead and make this happen. Yeah. So it's amazing. Yeah. And I'm about to do it again. Really? So I want to ride out to California again. Again, I don't have a problem riding. Now, I have Harleys now, right? I used to have a crotch rocket. Right. So I rode my crotch rocket from North Carolina to Ithaca, New York in October of years ago and back. I said, that's it. I'm done.
So that's too much.
Man, he just bent over. I was like, nah. So what happened was bad on your back. And I went, got me a Harley, and I'm like this. Cruising, chilling. And it's more comfortable. Yeah. And you can ride longer. Yeah. So
now you done traveled the country, rode your back. So now you got a background in engineering and all that good stuff. I read your profile. And then next thing I know, you started a construction company. You're building and remodeling places down in Wilmington. I'm like, man, I need to get them up here. I need to build I need to buy some low-income housing. Yeah. Up here on some of this land I own. So what inspired you to do that?
So like you said, I went to school for this, right? So I was actually able to go to school, for this background in engineering and construction management, and able to work in my field since I graduated.
Right.
Right. So I remember my first project coming out of high school was the Portsmouth Naval Hospital. Did the Norfolk Airport. I was working for Syntex Construction at the time, which is now Battle Fort Betty. And
what's going on, everybody? If you're looking for different ways to connect with us, follow us on all of our socials. On Twitter, we are Liberty NC. On Facebook, Fayetteville Liberty. And if you want your company to be a proud team sponsor, you connect with us at info@FayettevilleLibertyNC.com.
Did the Dulles Airport, where they put in the I put in the underground metro system.
Okay.
So you go from one terminal to another underground. Man, a lot of construction projects up in the DC area. I wound up moving from different companies. I was actually with J.A. Jones and Tompkins, and this was in DC. By the way, I told me when I went up to Northern Virginia, I was like, man, I'm never gonna work in DC. That traffic is horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was working in the heart of it. So with J.A. Jones and Tompkins, I was already working for them because they wanted me to do their self-performed concrete division. And then they said, hey, got the World War II Memorial. I was in the military. They was like, who else is better to do this? So I wound up going to the project, went in as the assistant project manager.
Right.
And then shortly after that, the head project manager left, so it was just me. And then I called my executive director. He was like, all right, you got to build it and bring it home.
Right.
So I was able to be in charge of building the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. And the thing about that, a lot of people don't know that.
No,
right?
I didn't know. I didn't
A
know
lot
until
of
you
people
sent it
don't
to me
know
in
that.
email. Like,
And
I was like, wow.
it was amazing to be an African American in charge of making sure that thing got built.
Right.
To me, I was just, all right, I'm here now.
Yeah. That's one of you feel like that's one of your greatest accomplishments?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that's something that my kids can go back and look at and be like, man, my dad did this.
Right.
So I wound up doing that. One of the things about that was, as we got close to the end, you would see a lot of veterans come up and like, hey, when are y'all going to finish? I want to be able to visit and see this. And I know some of them veterans weren't able to return because, they were older and they probably passed away or whatever. Yeah. But I remember in August of 2004 is when we finished and we had the recognition of it. And man, for me to sit back and be like, wow, I did this.
Yeah.
Then also in DC, I did the Capitol. Right, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
Right, so it's called the CBC Capitol Visitor Center. I was one of the project managers. We had multiple ones because this was a huge project.
Right.
So I was one of the project managers of that. The Capitol Visitor Center, put in the underground museum, the tunnels, pedestrian tunnels, Bowling Air Force Base. I did the Department of Intelligence Analysis Center.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Then I was like, man, I can't do this traffic anymore because on a regular day, and this is when I was working at the Capitol, I lived in Clinton, Maryland. On a Sunday, I can get the Capitol in 15 minutes. On a regular work day, Monday through Friday, it was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then 2 hours to get home.
Right.
And I had an epiphany, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. And what happened was a company out of Charlotte hired me to come down and build hospitals. And I wound up negotiating my contract to get paid more down here than I was making in DC.
That's great.
I loved it. Yeah. So I wound up doing that. Did the Carolina Medical Center in Charlotte, did the Northeast Medical Center, I think it's changed names now, in Concord. Then they moved me down to Wilmington. And I was like, man, what the world is in Wilmington? They wanted me to build another hospital, and that was the Betty Cameron's Women's and Children's Hospital in Wilmington. So I've always had that construction background.
Yeah.
But what I realized is, man, I'm making a lot of money for some other people. So, and fast forward past, I used to, I left that construction company. I worked for GE for 9 years,
Right.
Corning for 8. And then in 2021, I was like, it's time. So I wound up starting my own construction company.
Yeah.
It's about 80% commercial, 20% residential, and that could flip-flop depending on the market.
Right.
So I started that in 2021.
Yeah, because you did something for, I think, was Church's Chicken.
Yep, I did the Church's Chicken in Wilmington.
Yeah.
A lot of projects for the city, a lot of projects for the university down there, University of North Carolina, Wilmington.
Yeah, I seen that.
A lot of residential projects. So yeah, I was like, yeah, it's time. Now, I started my own construction company while still working full-time for Corning. So I was able to hire people to say, hey, look, I used to hire 2 people. I had 10 or 11 projects going on at the time. And what I did was I split the city up. I said, you take care of these 5, you take care of these 5. So I treated them like little project managers. And they would report back to me, take pictures and things like that. But then the projects kept getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, it's been, what's this, 2025? So 4 years.
4 years.
4 years. And I am blessed and highly favored.
Yeah.
So, but it comes with some bumps and bruises, boy.
Oh yeah, that's anything in life, man.
Yeah, and I tell you, I do want to talk about some of the, I think you mentioned this before, how some people give up, right?
Yeah.
Too soon. And I could have easily did that when things weren't going my way, right? When I started my company on February 25th, 2021. All year I got no work. December of 2021, I got my first project, and that was at the at UNCW, University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Ever since then, it's been all gas, no brakes, right? Because then I said, all right, I got this now.
Yeah.
So I didn't give up. I didn't quit. Again, my want to was just, I got to make this work. Yeah. And I didn't want to become a shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? Or I should have did this, or I could have did that. Oh man, I would have did that.
Yeah.
I was like, I take that out of my vocabulary.
Yeah.
And
it's positive thinking and speaking into this thing, having the faith to step out.
There you go.
The faith of a mustard seed.
There you go.
Yeah. So I can relate to that because I've been doing this podcast thing since really, I'll say, officially 2021 myself, and hey, this is a self-fund project. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I know my breakthrough. And I tell people all the time. I said it numerous times. I get personal encouragement and satisfaction when people come up and say they watch my podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
Someone like yourself and other people have came on my podcast and told their story how they started at this point, but through it all they were successful. It wasn't an easy path. Yeah. And so that always encouraged me to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because I know my breakthrough is just around the corner, so I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, and like I tell a lot of people, you feel like oh man, I'm almost there. And if you're just trying to break through right here, but you quit right here, you're almost there. You just have to keep going and keep going and keep going. So I tell people, don't quit, don't give up, just keep pushing, just keep driving. And like I said, for my construction company, it's been some, I shouldn't say struggles, but it's been some hurdles that I had to overcome, right? And when I tell a lot of people, when they say, oh man, I want to start my own business, are you sure you're ready? Do you understand what it takes, right? And I meet a lot of guys who want to be, I'm a licensed general contractor, right? So you have contractors that are contractors. But in the state of North Carolina, you can only do $40,000 per project. I knew I wanted to do more than that, right? So I went and became a licensed general contractor.
So let me get this straight. So if you don't have a license, you have a cap of 40,000.
There's a cap at 40,000. Okay. Right? You only can do 40,000 per project. Right? If you do anything above that, you're subject to get fined. You're subject to maybe some jail time. So I said, you know what? I'm not starting my company just to do 40,000 per project. Right? I like to eat.
Yeah.
I like to drive what I drive.
Yes, sir. I know what you drive.
Yeah. And so I went and became a licensed general contractor, right? And it wasn't easy. I took the test. I passed, right? I say I kind of equated to trying to pass the bar to become a lawyer because you got all these books that you got to study and go through. So becoming a licensed general contractor. Okay. Then, all right, well, you got to get insurance, right? If you don't have insurance.
You got to be licensed and bonded, right?
You got licensed bond. Man, even if I don't have a project, I still got to pay my insurance because I have to keep the insurance active.
Right.
So when the time comes, hey, I get this project. Well, okay, you got insurance? Oh, no, I got to go get something. No, even when I don't have a project, I'm paying my insurance because you got to keep it up. And then, you talk about got to be bonded, right? Some projects you get, you don't have to be bonded. Some you do. Okay. Right? And sometimes I remember my first project that I had to get bonded, right? So the project was about $250,000. Well, you got to pay 3% bond on that. Oh, wow. So you do the math. You got to cut that check. So you got to have it in the bank already. Ooh. So you got to cut that check
Oh, boy.
before you even get that money. Now you get it back on your billing,
Right.
but you got to have it in the bank, and you got to cut that check to be like, oh snap, I got to have whether it's 8,000, 12,000, whatever's in the bank.
You got to have that on standby, ready to go.
Man, and when I cut that check, I was like, oh my God. But I was blessed and fortunate enough to have it, right? And then the more I kept getting bonded, that 3% kept coming down,
Okay.
right? So projects that I'm bidding now, right, my bond could be 2% or 1.5 or whatever the case may be. Because now they can trust you.
Yeah.
And they can trust you.
Right.
So the thing is, man, I love what I do. I enjoy it. And then the real big thing is, you know, you see a project, how it started, and whether it be nothing, and then you build it up, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's crazy.
I can't complain. I got people now calling me. I got these big companies now calling me because
Hey man, I need a job, man.
come on.
Now my salary gotta be 6 figures.
Yeah, got me 6 figures. Oh man, hold on, carry the one. Okay, I gotta put that in. Yeah. But one of the big things is I got these big companies calling me now, right? Because they gotta have this minority participation. Right. So it's more like, hey, help me, help you.
Right.
So I cannot complain. I'm blessed to be in this position, and I want to put other people in this position, right? So I'm mentoring people who really want to get into this construction thing, and I'm saying, hey, you got to understand, it's not just I'm gonna go out here and drywall, bang some nails. It's been some long nights. So remember, I said I still work full time,
right?
So I would work my full-time job from 8 in the morning to 5 at night. Then I'm at the hotel from 7 to 1 in the morning, answering emails, RFIs. Sometimes I got to go make a site visit. So I was burning the candle at both ends. I was running out of wax.
Right.
And I said, oh, man. So if you really want to commit to something like that, how big is your want to?
Oh, trust me, I know, because I work a full-time job. I was here the day before. I was here. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, we typically podcast twice a week, but we got an event. I may be on the road up in DC, Maryland area. I travel up there and do things up there. And so, I understand, because I say some days I'll be tired. You know what I'm saying?
Man. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the hat.
So let me ask you, because you got me intrigued, because I like simple numbers now. I'm not an engineer guy like you. I'm a simple country boy. So on a $250,000 project, right? So what's your cut, roughly? Now, you got to give me a specific number.
So I always put my time in there, right? So just keep it simple, right? My time is valuable, right? And I also have an engineer, right? So I got my engineer that I'm probably gonna pay, $40 an hour that I'm billing. My time gonna be about 85 to 100.
I gotta go to school, give me an engineer degree.
Yeah. And then, so I put that time in there when I put the bid in, and then I also got my markup, on stuff. So, I can do pretty well. Now, you multiply those 250,000 projects times 10.
2.5. That's my math is bad.
Yeah, no. So here's the thing, though, right? If I do 5 $250,000 projects, and those are not big projects, right? Right now, at this current state, I can go all the way up to 1.5 million because I'm considered intermediate. Now, eventually, I'm about to go unlimited, which I can just go forever, right? But yeah, I can make pretty good money, and I'm not complaining. Again, I know that $40,000 cap was not going to
work for you.
Work for me. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man. Listen, man. I need to send you an invoice, man. I need to get on the payroll, man. So I need to come down and do some podcasting while you're building.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at probably 125 hours, something like that.
Oh man, hold on, carry the one.
Yeah. I mean, just put it in the building, man. Just put it in the bill, But man, so yeah, man. When I seen you start your company, man, and it was like you doing your thing, and I was very, very proud you doing your thing. You know what I'm saying? Definitely proud of you and what you were doing.
I appreciate it.
But I mean, let's move on. So what is your strategy to balance your personal and your professional lives? With your family, with your kids. How do you balance all that?
And I tell everybody, man, it's a work-life balance. It's a work-life balance, because like you see, the key thing is you got to balance, your personal life. You got to balance your work life. You got to balance, hey, I need some me time, right? So you got to be able to take that, because I remember I wasn't doing that, and I literally, like, my body shut down.
Oh yeah.
And it was like I was trying to go so hard, and I just wasn't getting any sleep. I was tired. My body shut down. I mean, I think I slept for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I got to figure this balance thing out, right? You know, you can't let work be too much over to where you can't have a good personal life.
Right.
And enjoy the fruits of, yes, your labor. So I make sure I have a good work-life balance. And I do that by saying, all right, on these days, I may work till such and such, and then I'm getting off at this time. I'm going to have me time. I'm going to work at the gym. Because, again, health is wealth. You got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get away. You know, my daughters, some of them, they do multiple things. I got 2 granddaughters now that I want to go and see. So yeah, I got to give my granddaughters a shout out. So Juliana and Nyla.
Okay.
And I don't know if you got, you know, for those who don't have grandkids, it's a different type love.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't got none yet, thank God.
Oh man,
Not
you
yet.
love your girls, right?
Yeah.
The kids, but grandkids, it's a different type of love. So, you know, developing that work-life balance is something that I incorporated. It's a must. And, you know, you just got to take time for yourself, the family, because, again, you really can't do one without the other.
That's true. That it's a balance.
It's a balance.
And they support each other.
And support each other. So, you know, I tell anybody this, and they ask me, how do you do so much?
I be wondering myself, man. I see you track and field, I see you on the screen, I see you here, then I see you in another country. I'm like, man, this man getting around.
Yeah, it's just that work-life balance, man. And I know I get all this stuff done now because as I get older, you know, in my 52 years I've been on this earth, as you get older, you ain't gonna be able to do all that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'll be 52 this year.
Yeah, see, there you go. And it's like, I need to get all this done now.
Yeah.
All right. I just recently traveled the world. I went to Korea.
Right.
Then flew down to, this is all in one trip.
I know, I seen it.
Korea,
Yeah.
Singapore, China, Tokyo.
You went to
and
China?
Back. Yeah, I was in China only for one day. I almost caused an international incident over there. So I was like, look, I got to get out of China.
Wow,
they different over there.
Yeah, man. Man, I'm surprised. Boy, I don't think I was messing with China.
Different.
You get over there, man. You
Look, man, I was the only black man in the streets. And I was like, oh, I need to get up out of here.
They're following you and everything.
I know, right?
Special.
But I tell you what, though, I felt kind of tall in China, man.
You were tall compared to them.
Jeez, I was like, okay.
Yeah,
but China was different.
Yeah.
That was
So did you have to have any? You had to get the State Department, you know, anything like that to go to China?
Not really a State Department. There are paperwork that you got to fill out. Now they looked at me funny because not only because I'm black, but they looked at me funny because they say, hold on, this dude left the U.S., went to Korea, went to Singapore. He's in China. Now he about to go to Tokyo. Wait, what's going on with him? So they did ask me a lot of questions because they saw my itinerary. Right. So they ain't know what I was doing. And the funny thing is, right, if you ever watch this show where they bring people who try to smuggle drugs, right, in, they put me in that room.
Oh, no.
So what happened was I was going to check in. I was leaving China, now going to Tokyo. Mm-hmm. And the lady said, hey, we can't give you a boarding pass till you go over there. I said, all right, go to room B. I said, anytime you hit room B, you know there's going to be a problem. So I get to room B, and they said, and again, right, nothing against China, but they were very direct. Unpack your bag. I was like, oh, that's aggressive. Yeah. So I wound up unpacking my bag, and they said, hey, you have a lighter? I said, yeah, I got a lighter. They wound up taking out my lighter, cigar lighter, throwing that one away. But I had one that was a cutter that's also a lighter. And they up there trying to light it. I said, hey, it doesn't light, don't have fuel in it. And I said, can I keep it? It was like, no. Wow. I said, man, so we're going back and forth now. I said, well, look, call your manager. Call the manager, come down. He's trying to light it. Can't light it because it doesn't have fuel in it. I just use it to cut a cigar. And then he looking at it. I said, well, can I keep it? They're like, no, throw it away. So they wound up throwing it away. And look, we was about to, I was like, you know what? Let me get out of China. I don't need to be here for a cigarette lighter.
Right.
So let me just get up out of here.
Hey, man, listen, I'd be like, I'll buy me one in the States.
Buy me another one.
Yeah.
But just the experience, man, and even 2 years before that, I flew to Africa. By the way, if you've never been to Cape Town, Africa, South Africa, it's a must. Okay. And all again on one trip, flew to Cape Town, South Africa, flew to Cairo, flew to Dubai,
Yeah, I've been
flew to Iceland, and then back.
Wow.
I just like to see the world, man.
Hey,
It's
nothing
more
wrong with
than
that,
the
man.
U.S.
That's
so.
what life is about, man.
Yeah,
Especially if
yeah.
you have, definitely the means and the opportunity, man.
Yep, it's a blessing.
Yeah, it
It
is
is
a
a
blessing,
blessing. So,
man. Yeah.
but it comes part of that work-life balance too. That was me knowing that, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to travel the world.
Yeah.
So I had to plan.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. While I'm going, who's going to run my company?
Right.
Right. While I'm going, who's going to take care of things that work for me?
Right.
While I'm going, is there anything that I got to get done? Paid all my bills so bills won't come and I
Right.
come back and the lights be up.
Lights, water.
No. So again, it was the plan. It was just something I wanted to do.
Man, next trip, man, I'll come down and run things, man, for you. We'll work out a fee.
Okay, all right, we're gonna
so
work
I give
out
you a
something.
family discount.
All right, we're gonna make that happen.
Hey, so what's some of the major challenges you have faced? And I know we kind of talked about not only building your business, but just in your career path. Period. What are some of the major challenges, and what would you tell my audience? And I say that because I think that's key because we see what's going on in the world right now. What's going on in this year, particularly. I'm talking about, and I tell people, especially with me, man. I got 30-some years tied up in this federal government. You know what I'm saying? My heart goes out to a lot of these people that have lost their jobs. No matter what political party they associate with, I just hate it because I've been tied up in this thing so long. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so, how do what the challenge you have faced? How have you overcome these obstacles in your life?
So I guess I'm gonna pick on a couple things. So, and I'll talk about my construction business. I'm gonna give that one. I got all the certifications, right? DBE. I'm a disabled vet. Right, certification. I'm a HUB, which is historically underprivileged business. I'm an SBE, small business enterprise. I'm an MBE, minority business enterprise. I got all these certifications, but it still was hard for me to crack that code. And they tell you, oh, you can go and apply for a small business loan. We support these small businesses. But what they don't tell you is, I don't really have assets, right? For my company, I sub everything out, right? Whether it's plumbing, mechanical, electrical, whatever. I don't have machinery as an asset. I don't have an office building as an asset. And when I was applying, I was getting, no, we can't prove you. No, we can't approve you. No, we can't approve you. Why? You don't have any assets. Collateral. Nothing that we can come back and get
Right.
in case you default on this loan.
Right.
So they didn't tell me that in the beginning. They just told me apply.
Right.
So basically, I've been blessed to basically self-fund my construction projects myself. And if you know how to run business, I'm gonna use the term rob Peter to pay Paul.
Gotcha.
Because as a project finishes, you're getting paid for that can fund this project, and it runs like that. But then I'm also using some of my own money,
Right.
But it's always good to use somebody else's money.
Oh yes, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
that has kept me afloat, and my business now growing and growing and growing. So the one thing about that is I say, you just can't quit, right? Don't take a no as your final answer. You want to keep driving, you want to keep pushing, you want to keep going, right? So that's one, overcoming that, right? It used to be getting bonded, but I was able to have that money in the bank, pay my bond, and now I'm good.
Gotcha.
Now I'm gonna turn back to the military. So I was in the military, I did 25 years. My enlisted career was not good at all. I shouldn't say not good, right? And some said, and I'm gonna just give a shout out to, at the time, Sergeant Johnson, Sergeant Black, Sergeant Brown. These were the guys back then who saw something in me as an enlisted guy. Right. I was enlisted for 9 years and only made up the PLC, right? And they say, this kid got a chip on his shoulder. He's this, and that. I was in altercations, which the statutory limitations have now expired, so I may can talk about them, but they took my security clearance. Right. They gave me field grade Article 15. I was just that kid coming in, and I was just like, man, I'm this and that. And then, it took guys like those sergeants says, hey, look, you got a lot of experience. Just see it for what it is. Well, then I graduated college, and then I now have a degree. And they say, look, you have a degree now. go to the other side, meaning become an officer.
Right.
So I was enlisted, then I became an officer, and said, go to the other side and experience that. Was able to go to OCS, become an officer. But what I found out very quickly, a black officer at that time, man, they gave me no respect.
No respect. Hey, listen.
It came to the point where I would walk by some of these the white enlisted or even lower officers as I came up in rank. They would not salute me. And I had to lock them up a couple of times. Be like, hey, we don't salute officers now? And they'd be like, hey, how's it going, sir? And this is in the 90s, early 2000s. Now, I'm going to back up to the enlisted part because the trouble I had allegedly got in happened in Fort Gordon, Georgia. They were still using the N-word at us.
Wow.
I was like, they still do this in the 90s?
Right, yeah.
Now, this was people that were in my platoon that was using the N-words towards me. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. So yeah, it was a challenge. And I knew like, okay, I'm gonna just show you what's gonna happen. I was enlisted and I went to Air Defense, ADA, Air Defense School. I got kicked out the first time. And the only reason I got kicked out is because my college graduation was at the same time I was supposed to report to base. And I was like, I graduate college once. I'm going to that graduation. Well, I showed up on the Monday. They wound up kicking me out. I said, okay. I go back that next year, right? I do everything. Boom. Get honor grad. And what I told them was, I say, no matter what you do, right, I'm going to make you understand that I am who I am, right? I did have to change my mindset a little bit because they say I came in with a chip on my shoulder, right? But then I saw like, okay, I know how I got to maneuver.
Right. Once you know how the game is played.
Once you know how the game is played, because I tell a lot of people this, you can't be in the game if you don't know the play.
Yes, sir.
So after learning and experiencing all of that, I overcame just a lot of stuff in the military that I did not think still existed. Yeah. Right? Black officers at the time, right? I wasn't getting saluted. I was like, man, this is crazy. And I said, okay. And I remember one time, so they wanted officers, you're supposed to have this clean face, no mustache, no beard or whatever. But I still had my mustache. Now they wearing full beards in the military.
Oh, yeah, change.
But an officer came up to me, he says, hey, you know, it doesn't look good for a black officer to have a mustache. I said, well, why? I said, basically, what did the regulations say? Oh, well, you know, y'all are kind of looked at as the angry black man if you got mustache. What does the regulation say? And I wouldn't say I went against the grain, but I stood my ground. If you can tell me what the regulation says, and if it say I should not have one, then I'll cut it off. But he couldn't prove that to me. So just overcoming a lot of stuff like that and seeing it, and even to the time that I retired, right, it got very political.
Oh, yeah.
It got very political because I was the battalion commander at the time, and they wanted me to run ordnance. Oh, but you can't do this, you can't do that. And then, believe it or not, it was still a color thing. And I was like, this is insane. Yeah. And I said, you know what? For me, that's when I knew it was time to go. But I had prepared myself, you know, and 25 years later, man, I did 25 years. I cannot complain. Right. I gave this country what it asked, you know, and that's what it was. So.
What's up, man?
Yeah.
So I feel you. I experienced that too, man. I was calling nigga to my face. I never get the stamps on first. I was at Fort Carson, me and the Specialist Lockett. He lives in Georgia now. He worked for Georgia State Bureau of Investigation for many years. He's retired now. And he was from Mississippi. He had this coffee mug. He always drank coffee, man. So we just got through PT. And we walking by, and I said, hey, son, let me get some of that coffee. He said, I'd never give a nigga some of that coffee. It's crazy. And so, so I was like, I kept walking, and then like maybe 5 stages later, me and Lockie stopped and looked at each other and say, did he just say, cause
did he just say that?
But he didn't say that, you know what I'm saying? I was like, wait a minute. And so, we went and talked to the EO rep and went out the battalion or whatever, man, but nothing really came up, man. But so I've seen a lot of that's over my 20-some years in the military as well, man. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
Yep.
Yeah. So man. So, in your opinion, what are some of the key things to keep you grounded and focused? You talked about some of them in your career, but give me 3 key things that have kept you grounded in your career? Whether it's been construction, your movie ventures, you're building your own motorcycle club,
Yeah.
you've done all these things. What are the 3 key things that have kept you grounded?
You know, the first thing I gotta say is you gotta be humble, right? Because anything that I'm doing can be taken away just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people always ask me, how do you do this? How do you do that? I said, man, I'm just humble. I'm blessed. I'm blessed and highly favored, right? So I got to be humble, right? You got to maintain to a positive mindset and a positive attitude. Because soon as you start thinking negative,
Right.
boom. I always say I can't, it's a cuss word. Because me, I can't is a cuss word because you already defeated yourself by saying I can't, I can't, I can't. So if you can be humble, if you can be positive, those are my top 2 things. And you got to stay grounded. I always remember where I came from. I always remember, I was that kid back in high school that I was told, you ain't gonna be nothing.
Right.
I stayed grounded. I listened to what my mom say, my grandmother say, and my aunts and uncles, my dad, my stepdad, and I just stayed grounded, right? And I'm gonna give a shout out to my boy Antoine Beckett. I went back home a couple of years ago, and Antoine pulled me to the side. And he said, Rod Bell, he said, I tell people, if they ain't doing what you doing on your level, do it. Y'all can't compare. He said, because you came from here, the Eastern Shore of Virginia. Yeah. You still rep the Eastern Shore of Virginia. You still doing stuff for these kids back here in the school. And I was like, wow. So those are just some of the realest words that he gave me. It was like, man, you keep doing what you're doing, because I just stayed grounded. I'm not high almighty. I don't go back home and be like, no, I'm going to be, Rod Bell. Everything that I got, how people say, man, I got this out the mud.
Right.
I got mine out the concrete. Man, that joint was hard. It was hard.
I like that. You got it out the concrete.
I got it out the concrete because, again, all the no's that I got.
Right.
This is this is tough. Yeah. I said, I got mine out the concrete. So I was that rose or whatever the saying, and I know it may be cliches, that broke through the concrete and got through. Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm humble. I'm blessed and highly favored. I stay grounded, right? And I try to treat people the way that they want to be treated, right? Treat me the same way, and I got you. Yeah. But yeah, man, that's what I do.
I think Dick Gregory, I seen what clip. He said, when you tell yourself you can't do something, you just told 2 million sales that you can't do something.
Yeah.
You basically told your whole body, when you're thinking, you speak it out your words. So they say, speak it into existence as it already is.
Into an existence.
You know what I'm saying?
I tell anybody that, man, just speak it to an existence. And if it doesn't happen, you still got to stay positive about it.
Yeah.
And I was 48, 49. And I might have been posting about this 2 years before I turned 50. Oh, man. It was only really 2 things I wanted when I turned 50. That was to buy me a Bentley and then travel the world. At 50 years old, I was able to do both. Paid cash for my Bentley because I don't like car payments. And then I traveled the world. Yeah. But I spoke it into existence years ago. Years ago. Yeah. And it happened. It may not have happened right then when I wanted it to happen, but it happened. And I just set that time right there. And I got to let people know also, right? People want things right now. I want it now. Yeah. But what they got to understand, there is a thing called delayed gratification. Yeah.
Blessing delayed is not a blessing denied.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that delayed gratification, I didn't get it right then and there, but I wound up getting it, and I was like, hey.
My boy RJ, when I first started podding with him and we did something, he said something that's always stayed with me. He said, the little bit I have means so much. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be thankful for what God has already blessed you with in order for God to take you to another level or continue blessing you to what you want to get to.
Absolutely.
So, the little bit I have, I'm appreciative.
I'm appreciative.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. Again, I always say I'm blessed and highly favored, and I'm thankful. So, because again, you got to be humble, because yes, all the stuff that I do, it could be taken away just like that. Yeah.
So what's next on the horizon for you?
Eventually, right? So right now, everybody always asks me, why are you still working for Corning when you got your own construction company, right? Because again, right, it's all about that timing. right? It may not be time. It may not have been time back in 2021 for me to leave, right? I was able to hire people and still run my company while I still work full time. But, right now, I'm building somebody else's dream. The company I work for, their dream is to be the biggest #1 company, whether it's fiber optics or whatever in the world. My dream is I want to be the biggest minority company, construction company out there that people come. When you see and hear Arbel Construction Group, that's who I want.
This podcast is brought to you by RE Media and Rebound Sports and Media Entertainment LLC, your go-to solution for all content needs and on and off the court and on and off the field and everywhere in between. Whether you're looking to elevate your brand, grow your business, or amplify your marketing efforts, RE Media is here to deliver next-level content that makes an impact. From captivating visuals to strategic storytelling, we specialize in pushing your brand to new heights. So why wait? Contact RE Media today and let us help you create something extraordinary.
So it's time for me to dream my dream.
Okay.
Right? So eventually I want to leave my company full-time and run my construction company full-time. I see that happening. And then also, keep doing this acting thing, man. I'm not saying I'm the best actor, but I love it. I like to see, when you see yourself and, your kids, right?
Yeah.
They be like, Dad, my friends be like, Dad, they don't believe that's you. Or people come to me and it's like, I was actually traveling. I was, this lady, this was in Crossover, and I was at the check-in counter. She was like, hey, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. She said, are you famous or anything? I said, I don't know about that, but she's like, have you ever been on TV? I said, yeah. She said, you look like this guy that played on this thing I watched the other day called Crossover.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that was me. And she runs and goes, and you would have thought I was Morris Chestnut. I said, dang.
Yeah.
And she gets her girls, and they come up and take pictures with me, and I was like, wow. And that just let me know, wow. I mean, okay, somebody has watched, somebody has seen.
You'd be amazed at the people that have seen your work, and and they see you, like in their minds, like, is that him?
Yeah.
Because when we did the first I know, the first live podcast in Fayetteville when I turned 50. That was part of my 50th birthday, to do a live podcast here in Fayetteville. We had about 200 some people. We did it here at 71st Church. And so prior to that, we did a lot of promotion, right? So me and RJ was at this place called Uptown Chicken right here in Fayetteville. Okay. Uptown Chicken and Waffle, actually. Rashawn, he actually was on our Real Reckless podcast. So that was the podcast we shot. It was live, right?
Got you.
And we came out, and there was 2 females came out. They said, oh, are y'all the guys from Real Reckless? We seen it on TV, and she was like, oh my God, I got to get an autograph. She really wanted to get RJ. I wasn't, I was not, the guy that she wanted the autograph from, you know what I'm saying? So, but you'll be amazing at the people that said, hey man, I seen you on TV, especially older people, especially where I'm from in the country. They be like, I seen your podcast. I'm thinking, no, you saw a clip. You see the whole podcast. But I take it, I understand what they're saying. But yeah, man, that's incredible, man.
It is, man.
It's a great feeling that, it's that the show Cheers, Everybody Know My Name. Yeah. Yeah, back in the day, that TV sound, man. So yeah.
And I'll never forget, I went back home and I played in this alumni basketball game. And, we had won, but then we're just hanging around, right? Crowd is now leaving. And this lady comes up to me. She says, hey, are you Roderick Bell, the one that's the actor? I said, yeah. I say, I'm a little something. Yeah. So she said, my daughter wants to take a picture with you. I was like, oh, come on.
Right.
And just to see that impact, it may have been small.
Right.
But just to see it was an impact that, man, back home, they be noticing. I was like, oh, okay, all right. I just take it as a blessing, man. I'm always going to rep the Eastern Shore of Virginia. Yeah. Back then, so on the Eastern Shore, right, a long time ago, it used to be called 2 places. Up the road, down the road. Okay. Which is basically up the road is Accomack County, down the road is Northampton County. Okay. So, but all, me being from down the road in the Cape Charles, Fairview area, I'm always going to rep that. Yeah. Northampton High School, always going to rep that. Yeah. And, man, I'm just blessed. A little kid from the country, or the could. I used to say could, half country, half hood. I'm just blessed. Right. So, never thought I would have made it. If you had asked me back when I was 18, one, would I be doing some acting? Would I own my own company? Would I do this? Right. Nah. I probably would never thought it. Yeah. And I'm always going to rep my Spartans, my Norfolk State University. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm blessed.
Hey, man. So, man, hey, listen, man, I you know, hey, you got some a vet, man, or something, you know, let the brother in, man. I come in and, you know, say a few words, man.
Man, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know,
I remember when you started this thing, and
you know
I
what I'm
was
saying?
like,
I'm
oh,
trying to get a
man.
little cheddar too, man. I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get me with them business too, man. You know, I ain't there yet.
It's coming, man. Speaking
But I got
to
my
the
second
business.
book out, man. So we
Congratulations.
released it, but we had to make some
Congratulations.
adjustments. But yeah, man. So like, you know, you got some time, man. Love to do a promo with you with the
Yeah.
book, man. You know, get it out to
Man,
your
let's
fans.
make
you know
it
what I'm
happen,
saying?
man.
But
'Cause I got your first one. We're gonna do your next one.
Yeah, definitely, man. So yeah,
let's make it happen.
So what at the end of the day, my last question to you, you know, we both around the same age. We got more good years behind us than we do forward. What do you want your legacy to be at the end of the day?
Man, you just said you're so right that we got more years behind us
Yeah.
than we do in front of us. Right. And I've been trying to build my legacy for a long time, right? To let my kids and that generational wealth, you know, be something that's way past, you know, I'm gone, way past that they're gone or whatever, is to really build that generational wealth. I'm teaching the kids about, you know, money, teaching the kids about, hey, a lot of people say, hey, you need a degree, or oh, you don't need a degree, or where to make it, whatever. And that may be true for some, but get your education. Key. Because if I didn't have my degree, I know I would not be here where I am today. I want my legacy to be that when they look back and, you know, they say, hey, Rod Bell or Roderick Bell, that guy, he did it. He helped mentor kids. He helped, you know, or he built his own company. He did, you know, TV shows and movies. He did the sports. He really I just want to lay the foundation for those that are behind me, right? I want them to be able to look at me and be like, man, how can I do that? And a funny story, I was driving a Bentley and I pulled up at the gas station. And when I pull up, I see 3 kids pull up. They get out the car and then they start walking towards me. Now, I will say I was wrong because I started thinking negative. Like, all right, they didn't ask me for money or this and that or whatever. I said, all right. So I had already started to prepare my response to them. They come up, 2 stand back, 1 walks up a little closer. He said, hey, sir, can I ask you a question? I said, okay. He said, how did you get that car? So now my mindset has now changed. Oh, these kids want to learn.
Right.
Because I said, well, hold on, let me ask you a question. What did you think when you first saw me? Did you think I was in a drug game? He was like, no. He said, because the way you carried yourself, I knew you were not that.
Yeah.
And right then and there, I said, okay, I need to talk to these kids.
Right.
We held the conversation at the gas station for 15 minutes. And they just wanted to know, how did you get that car and you're not in the drug game? Because they didn't see people like me, right? I guess where they're from, you know, driving a Bentley or whatever.
Right.
And I just basically told them, hey, I worked hard. This didn't come overnight.
Right.
I got this at 50. This Bentley at 50.
Yeah.
That's 50 years.
Yeah.
Or technically when I'm driving from 16. I got it at 50. So a lot of these years behind me helped me get to that.
Right.
You know, yes, I had an education. And I asked him, you got a degree? Did you graduate from high school? Well, he didn't, but the 2 friends behind him did. And I challenged them. I said, at least go get your GED.
Right.
Go get your GED. Nobody can take that away from you. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, well, I want to start a clothing company. I said, everybody's starting a clothing company. What's going to make yours different? He said, oh, well, it's going to be this. I said, everybody's doing that. I said, you got to think, like, what can I do to make somebody want to buy my clothing line, right?
You got to provide a need where there's a want.
Exactly. And I said, look, this is what we're going to do. I said, I'm going to give you my number. Oh, he actually asked for my number. I said, hey, can I get your number? Because I want to stay in contact with you. So we can, I want you to kind of be my mentor. Help me understand how can I get to where you are? And like I told him, it's hard wood grows slow.
Yeah, that's very true.
Hard wood grows slow. And I just didn't get this or whatever. I said, you can take a drug dealer or people who do drugs or whatever and me, and we got a Bentley or a Range Rover. They get locked up. Hopefully they don't, but if they did, their Bentley and Range Rover now gone. I still got mine.
Right.
I said, which side of the fence you want to be on? I can teach you this side, Can't teach you that side, but you just got to understand.
Yeah.
And so that just happened a couple of months ago, and it was just, man, it was. And what I didn't think that what I drive or how people see me they would just ask that question like, man,
Yeah.
how can I do that?
Yeah.
And then what I had to do to myself was I had to look at myself and be like, man, I thought negative because I thought these kids was gonna,
Right.
hey man, can I borrow $1?
Right.
Hey man, can you want to buy some drugs? When they really wanted was knowledge.
Knowledge, yeah.
That's all they wanted. So I had to get to myself and be like, okay, I gotta look at that. So that's just what I do.
And that's incredible, man. That's what it's really about, man. Is mentoring our young kids, regardless of race or whatever the case might be, especially being African man growing up in the world that we kind of grew up in, you know what I'm saying? Just giving back and giving them that positive look. And it's so key what you said that for me because, you know, every day I dress for work. You know, I wear, I'm in the Kohan shoes and, you know, and it's amazing the people, special Caucasians be like, oh, those Kohan shoes, or this type of jacket I got on this, and the people that work in my department, the guys, we all wear Kohan shoes. You know, we dress very nice every day, and it's just that when we go out there and represent the government agency we work for, it's that people know and see that stature, that facade, what you represent. It's not about the clothes. It's not about the shoes. Because I wear different other shoes, but it's about how you carry yourself.
That's exactly what it is.
The clothes don't make you. You make the clothes.
You make
know
the
what I'm
clothes.
saying? But you know, and I had a guy I was telling a friend of mine was I back home. I went in the store. I went down to the Fayetteville Chamber Converse the other night with RJ with the basketball team, and back in my hometown. And so this guy, you know, I go in the grocery store and get some gas, the gas station rather. This white man, he said, "Oh, you dress nice, sir. Where you been tonight, right?" And it's funny. So I said, "Thank you, sir." You know, he said, "Oh, those Kohan shoes you have on?" I said, "Yes, they are." I said, "Okay." He said, "So now he's at the counter, right, paying stuff. So you know, I keep mine on me at all times, even my whole time. You know, everybody know me down there. You know what I'm saying? So and I didn't think that, but I'm like, he's you know. So he said, so where you been tonight? So in my mind, I'm like, well, why are you asking me where I've been? You know, he's asking me questions and everything. And I was like, you know, I've been to a business meeting, you know, and that type of thing. He said, yes, man, you just sharp. He said, oh, you have a Bavada watch on. So this man is looking at. And I told a friend of mine, I said, he know what kind of shoes. He look at my watch. He's looking at everything about me. So he goes on outside. So I pay to get my gas. So I go, you know, I'll go to put my car. So he drives up on me as I'm going to the car. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So he said, sir, I just want to tell you, man. And it almost made me feel like, well, wow, you don't think a black man can carry himself in this manner. You know, they can dress and carry himself in a certain way. That was going through my mind. But actually, you know, couldn't find out, I went to school with his wife. And you know, he's an insurance agent for State Farm. He telling me if I need anything, but he just kept saying, you just the way you carry yourself. He says, wow, you know, and it just go back to your point with those three young men. It's how you carry yourself.
It's how you carry yourself.
Your demeanor, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, shout out to you, man, for all you do again, man. I thank you for being there for this period of time in my life, man. I finally got you on the podcast. It took about 5 years to get you down here.
Man, look,
down here in the little country, you know, Fayetteville.
It's been a busy time, but I can't complain. Yeah. And I did want to touch on one thing you just said. It's how you carry yourself, right? Again, you and I have known each other for years, right? And you just said something about how you were dressed. You know, I used to work at a warehouse, and of course, warehouse, you just wearing jeans and a shirt, right? This one guy told me, he said, hey, you got to dress for the position you want to be in. Yeah. Man, and I was a young 20-year-old kid, and he dropped that nugget on me. Next week, I'm coming dressed in khakis and a polo shirt, and everybody was like, oh, you got an interview? Even my manager, he was like, oh, what's going on? You got an interview, or what you coming from an event? No, I'm just dressing for your position. Right. Oh, really? I said, yeah, I got to dress for the next level I want to be in. That's true. And he said, okay. Now, a couple of days later, he said, I respect what you just said. Right. You know, so it's how you carry yourself. Yeah. I mean, I'm just blessed to be in this position. Yeah. You know, you doing it, you know, looking sharp as a tack, you doing your thing. Look. And here's another thing. You're going to catch me in some Timbs, jeans, or shorts. You're going to catch me in some shorts and some Timbs, you know. But then I'm able to make that transition. Oh, then you're gonna see me in the business suit.
Right.
You're gonna see me.
yeah.
So you got to be able to transition between the both, you know. And
But
that's
what you
just
got
what-
on tonight, a lot of people wore to the business thing that I went to the night because I just had on, you know, I had on slice, button-down shirt, you know, just the way you dress now. People was at that, you know, at that function, this business, you know, meeting. They were just like you were. So, you know, you don't have to always wear a three-piece suit.
Nope.
But it's again, it's the blazer, the nice blazer you got on, the shirt, the compliment, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just your style, it's your swagger.
just the style.
You dress to your swagger, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, you know, when you came, I see you with the jacket. Oh, you know, threw the jacket on me. All right. Yeah, man. But hey, man, tell everybody on the podcast how, you know, shout out your Instagram, how they can follow you, how they can get in contact if they want to build a 250 apartment unit, you know, somewhere.
absolutely.
You know, you got a couple million they want to spend.
Yeah, I'm right there for it. So some social media, man. I'm on Instagram, baldheadslick06. Facebook. I'm under Rod Bell. Even on Facebook, R Bell Construction Group.
Okay.
Same thing for Instagram, and then TikTok. I think I'm baldheadslick06 or something like that. R Bell 1906. But I'm all over, man. And like I said, anybody out there in the construction industry, or anybody needing any construction advice, or want to build anything, take care of some, you know, handyman work, you know, call me, contact me. Yeah. I am there. Like I said, I don't really turn down no work. I don't turn down nothing but my collar.
Yes, sir.
You know, that money right now. What they got to understand, my price is my price.
That's right, because y'all, I got to get my percentage in there. You know what I'm saying?
Get
you know,
that
I got to get my, you know, my billing and mine is 125 an hour. You got to calculate that. So whatever price he give y'all, hey, look, listen, you got to go with that because I got 125 per hour built into that price. I want to let you know that up front, so there ain't be no issues. All right. So when he give you that bill, just pay it.
There
so
you
I
go.
get my cut. You know what I'm saying?
And when I tell everybody, right? Yes, I am a minority business. I'm a black-owned business, but that doesn't always mean a discount. Right. I do have still bills to pay. I still got employees. I still got contractors. Right. But yes, my price is my price. And if I decide to want to, hey, let me work with you, then you know, at least let me decide that. You come up to me, hey man, can you give me a discount?
Hey, you know, I know you for 25 years, man.
But then would they ask that same man? Hey, can you give me a discount? They ain't gonna ask them.
No, they gonna whatever that price is, they gonna pay it.
They gonna pay it.
Man, that's always been our story though, man.
Yeah,
as black businesses, man, you know. That's what it has always been.
It is. Yeah. Sometimes be your own people.
That's it. That's a fact right there. Yeah. You can fact check that.
Sometimes it be your own people. But man, I'm blessed, and like I said, I'm here to support.
Thank you for coming through, man. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you.
You know what I'm saying? When the book come out, man, I'm gonna definitely find out where you is, where in the world, so we can make that connection. Whether it's virtual or, you know, we can link up somewhere, man. Again, I thank you for all you done for me and my family. I appreciate you. You always got a spot with me.
I appreciate
and I thank you so much for coming to Kelvis
my
podcast.
guy.
Yes, sir.
My guy.
Even though he's an alpha.
Yeah. We there.
Yes, sir.
We there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.